Glad that you're watching. It is still business defined. As we mentioned earlier, we're going to be looking at oil and gas status in East Africa and mostly in particular oil exploration in Kenya. While oil find in Kenya has been a game changer, significantly boosting investor interest in the country's hydrocarbons potential. This calls for a well-equipped and trained personnel in the fast-rising oil and gas industry in order to maximize opportunities and offer jobs to locals. Oil and gas finds in East Africa over the past 3 years have exceeded expectations. For Kenya, the string of impressive oil finds have significantly drawn investors, creating job opportunities and forming great expectations in boosting the country's economy. However, there are challenges such as lack of skilled labor that has seen exploration firms seeking the help of expatriates. In addition, there are challenges in the regulation and legislative framework, with Parliament yet to enact the energy bill that will govern the sector.
All of the contractors know that it's important for them to hire locally. But then you get to a point where you can't find someone who has done this or that, and that's why the major oil companies bring their own staff.
It is on this backdrop that KK Oil and Gas Director Bill Lay states, and I quote, "Within 4 years, there will be a need for over 20,000 skilled workers to service this industry across the region. Environmental health and safety is a first step, and appropriate certification a must for all workers. We plan to ensure workers are provided with the right training at the right time to address industry needs with certification to globally recognized standards," end of quotes. Lay is challenging Kenyans to enroll for training and certification so as to mold an internationally acclaimed workforce for the growing industry. Moreover, questions about infrastructure requirements to refine and transport the oil also remain. As the industry seems promising, the government is under pressure to balance interest from the private sector vis-a-vis the general public. This state of uncertainty has led to disruption of oil exploration in the recent past, where tensions between the oil companies and local communities have already led to protests. In October last year, protesters gathered at a site in Turkana, forcing Tullow Oil to temporarily suspend its operations. The demonstrators argued that the oil companies were locking out locals from employment opportunities.
Mining company that comes to East Africa, they want to hire Kenyans. To bring expatriates, it's very expensive. They don't want to bring them just because they want to spend the money. They bring them because there is no alternative at the moment.
In spite of the challenges in the oil and gas sector in Kenya, oil is looking out for the country. Regina Manyara Gitao, Business Defined. Well, with that insight into what is happening in the oil and gas sector, we are joined by the CEO of KK Oil and Gas, Mr. Bill Lay, to take us through that. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, we've seen there that you've said that in the next few years we'll see Kenya requiring, or rather Kenya requiring around 20,000 workers to work in this industry, and you've already challenged the executive entrepreneurs actually in the sector to come in and take advantage of this training. So today, just let us know exactly what does this training entail, in what fields?
Well, Regina, like any new industry that comes to like a country like Kenya, I think that there are a lot of people who wonder, what should I do to prepare? Can I take a class? Can I study this particular industry? And what kind of an opportunity can I generate for myself as a Kenyan or even as an East African? As we mentioned, I think in the earlier clip, the beginning, the sort of fundamental training that's required is environment, health, and safety. And at KK Training, we've now developed a number of face-to-face and online classes where people can say a prerequisite, like we call it, Oil and Gas 101 in university lingo.
University, yeah.
Yeah, so it's something that you can easily get into and take. It's not expensive. It can help you assess whether you have to validate your interest in the industry, and also to assess for your future employers, any gaps you might have in certain areas. So we're just at the beginning stages. I think that as we talk a bit more, we'll identify opportunities. There are many expatriates in this country, in this business now.
Okay.
And a number of the companies that are already underway, either in exploration or in drilling as we head towards operations and marketing of our oil and gas, that have that have realized now that we're in the business of developing national and local content for this industry. Mm-hmm. It'll take a bit of time for them to trust the
us locals, if you can say.
Yeah, say to trust us locals,
mm-hmm.
as you can put it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't start now, the process we'll find ourselves in a position where we're going to miss tremendous opportunities.
Well, is it open for anyone, or is it anyone can actually apply?
Anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The rates, you said it's affordable, but at what rates?
Well, we have, for example, we have IMIST, an online course that you can take at our Invigilation Center here in Nairobi. We have an Invigilation Center in Dar es Salaam and in Kampala, where, because this industry is clearly prominent in East Africa. Mm-hmm. And for $225, you can...
$225. Again, it's 85. That's approximately around 16, 18. Yeah.
16, 18,000 shillings.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can go away with an international OPIDO certified certificate on basic health and safety and environmental mm-hmm. training for oil and gas, which then, when you apply for your job with one of the drilling companies or one of the oil companies and they're increasing now, mm-hmm. you know, people focused on Turkana and the work that was going on up there, but there's work going on in Mombasa, mm-hmm. off the coast of Malindi, in Narak, mm-hmm. In Kisumu, in places like
There's
that.
So much actually
these
happening.
Things are popping up everywhere.
Okay.
And every one of those companies, believe me, I know you're going to ask me about it in a minute, but these companies understand the need to employ local and national resources. Mm-hmm. It's part of the agreement that they make with the government of Kenya. Mm-hmm. It's part of the energy bill that's being developed now. How much? Is it 70%, 50%? And for me, as you heard me say before, we don't have enough we don't have the talent trained yet. So the oil companies and the investors have I guess, the best excuse for not hiring people because we don't have them ready. So at KK, our board decided that even though it might be 2 or 3 years before we actually sell our first barrel of oil, or we transmit our first barrel of oil in our pipelines, some of these skills require introductory classes, and then you have to take a drilling class, and then we can train people in welding and mechanics and pipe fitting, and then eventually, like in some of the drill sites up in Turkana now, we have Kenyans who've reached the level of assistant driller. And that's work that's been done by the oil companies and the investors themselves. So the opportunity is just there.
Is there.
All we have
for us
to do
take
is work
advantage.
together, you know, provide the opportunities for people to do things, promote the concept of hiring local, you know, buy Kenya, build Kenya kind of stuff, and go from there.
On top of that, it will also ease the tension, because what we saw last year, we wouldn't want to have a repeat of that in Turkana. Them calling that you are undermining our locals, you're not employing them enough. I mean, maybe it is going to ease the tension around.
Sure. I mean, in fact, without going into the specifics of that particular event, I mean, it's common sense that when an area, when a community is used to a peaceful pastoral life, and then all of a sudden, in a very short period of time, people come in, investors come in and say, "We found oil in your place." Obviously, there needs to be some work done between the investors and the community, and without, you know, taking one side or another, I know for a fact that the companies that have come in with the idea. This is not the first place that these companies have drilled for oil. They're in the Middle East, they're in Asia, they're in Canada, they're in Russia, and every place that you go, when you come with an oil and gas label, people think, this is going to be big for us. We want to have a piece of this.
But it's definitely going to be big. But moving away from that, the expectations, we have very major or great, huge expectations, especially us as Kenyans. Maybe sensitization, especially to exactly when we should expect to reap benefits from this oil expeditions that we're having would go in well to lessen the expectation and ease the tensions for especially the locals as we are, because we struck oil and we're like, yeah, we're going to be rich. So maybe you can tell us when the impact, the ripple effect.
Okay, I think the industry generally believes that it'll be at least 2 years before we can, before we finish the initial drilling activity, and then there'll be another year or so of production where they have to do collection facilities and establish infrastructure. There's the Lapset pipeline issue. I think that generally the agreement is that around 2016, 2017,
2020.
Around there, that we're going to be, this industry's going to ramp up and be, maybe reach its initial level of being able to market and sell the oil, which is the payoff for all of this.
We're going to get the money.
Yeah.
But moving forward from that, we'd want to see the recommendations from a person who is actually in the sector, either directly or indirectly, with the challenges of this oil expeditions as we're having, government trying to make it operational, and also looking at the interest of the public vis-a-vis the private sector. Recommendations to that?
Well, you know, I spend a lot of time during the day with all of those stakeholders, and I'm sure that it's no surprise that there are challenges everywhere. The government is trying to balance the interests of the investors with the local community and the revenue side of the equation. My recommendation for anybody that wants to come into this industry is to first spend the time to get to know the community and to have a relationship with the community that you're going to do business. Eventually, that's going to pay off for you, because if you don't do it, with the experiences that we've seen so far, even in cosmopolitan places, if we found oil in Nairobi, there would still be issues.
Yes.
That maybe we found it in Kawangware, it would be everybody needs to be hired
employed
from there,
yes,
and all those kind of things. And it's also part of the empowerment of the devolution to county governments, is that now the counties are more visible, and the counties are now taking positions in addition to the positions that are being taken by the national government. And in fact, when we were at a meeting last week, the old term of local content, which is kind of what KK is in the business of developing, has now become national content, local content, community content, and village content. and if you don't look at it that way, then I think you'll find it more difficult to do your work.
Or, yeah, to operate, because I mean, we are the indigenous owners of that unrefined oil that has been found.
But it comes with a responsibility, and I think that's part of the reason that we wanted to get this national dialogue going, is that people should consider that if you start now, you'll be qualified to take the jobs that'll be available
in future,
when
actually
but
it
if
has
you don't
matured.
start, they're going to continue to bring expats and foreign country nationals from other places who have these skills, who just go around the world working in the oil and gas business. So it's a responsibility that we have to take as Kenyans to sign up, get the training, and that's what KK training is all about.
Well, very well said, as you've just heard. That is Bill Lay, CEO of KK Oil and Gas, and he's just told us, yes, if you want to benefit from what the oil and gas market, or rather exploration, has to offer, you have to get trained so that you can be qualified and earn the money, as you say, instead of causing a lot of trouble and you're inexperienced, yet there's an opportunity for you to train so that you can get into this sector. Well, we do take a short break, but when we return, we're going to look at other stories that are making headlines in the business circles.